Hey everyone, welcome to Quick Serve. As you can see, I am traveling. Um, guys, I don't drink in the morning. But if there was ever a time, it would be in celebration of Madison Keys this morning. Now, there's the tennis, which was lights out, and we're going to get into the X's and O's of all of it, of which I think is actually a very fascinating and it more nuanced than I thought it was going to be in this matchup. But I think I've talked to a bunch of friends in tennis, people that we have mutual friends that are very close to Bjorn and Maddie. Max Eisenbud this morning. On Andrea Petkovic, I think on air was like getting emotional for Maddie. And I don't know Maddie well. I just know reputationally when you've been around the tour for 10 years plus and you don't hear any negativity around someone, that means that they operate in a certain way all the time. Just so affable. She's gonna have to work on she kind of rips on herself a lot, like in like a funny way, is pretty self-deprecating. And she's gonna have to learn how to do that a little bit differently because she's a Grand Slam champion now, beating the two best players of the post-Serena generation back to back. And by the way, can we talk about her draw? Danielle Collins to beat Rybakina, to beat Svitolina, to beat Swiatek, to beat Sabalenka, the two-time defending champion in Australia. Nothing given, everything earned. And I think the reason why it's caused such a tidal wave of positive emotion for her, to where I was emotional when she won, and I like Aryna Sabalenka. I think it's well documented on this show how much respect I have for her and her process, and how frankly she kind of outgained the things that were holding her back for a long time. Madison Keys, especially in this matchup against Sabalenka, I think we remember, if we're maintaining an ounce of credibility on this show without bias, it was a collapse against Sabalenka in the U.S. Open semifinal, and something that I know left a huge emotional mark. I think losing to Sloane in that U.S. Open final, where her game didn't really show up. It seemed like maybe the moment was overwhelming for Maddie, and she's made the worker's end of slams so many times. And did anyone think, okay, this is going to be the time where she comes in and is in these tough matches over and over and over? Why now? Why now? I mean, people are going to say, oh, she got married. Listen, she's had the ability for a long time. Like Bjorn Frantangelo is a saint of a human for putting himself in this position, because you get the worst of tennis players when you're the coach. Like you get their most hysterical moments, their most insecurities. To do this and to have them do it together at this time, and to see someone who has a known track record of getting nervous in the biggest moments and saying, you know what, I don't need to be perfect for the last 10 years. I forever, for the rest of her life, she can look back and say, do you remember that tournament where I was the most clutch person on the planet for a couple of weeks? Forever. She took a massive eraser to everyone's memory bank. And it's not as if anything was given to her. Swiatek was playing great going into the semis. She wasn't losing games. Sabalenka owns this tournament. Third final in a row. So credit to her. Hitting her shots when the chips were down over and over and over again, while fighting these mental demons and the scar tissue of Grand Slams past. I'm so happy for her. I don't even know, like, winning I think is good, but I think just the fact that for the rest of her life, she'll sleep knowing that like I stepped up and did this in this moment, right? Like I was that person. And I'm a Grand Slam champion forever. It doesn't matter what she does for the rest of her life. 30, almost 30 years old, turns 30 years old, I think, in 3 weeks. The rest of her life, she's a Grand Slam champion. And doing it, beating the best on earth. Nothing given. It's not like a draw opened up. Draw opened up. Rabakina, Svitolina, Swiatek, Sabalenka. It's like a nightmare of a draw. So just on a personal level, I think the groundswell of support, and I hope she feels this. She has to feel it. The groundswell of support from the tennis community means that she operates as a decent human all of the days, right? And good things, you want good things to happen to the best people. And it seems like for these 2 weeks in Melbourne, Australia, karma got it right with with Maddie Keys. I'm so happy for her, and we can get into the X's and O's a little bit now, which are the reason we're talking about all of the good things that happened. But I don't want that to be the headline. I want the headline to be hurdles in front of you. I bet they never seemed taller than after that U.S. Open collapse against Sabalenka, and to see just to see like a human issue overcome on the biggest of stages with the brightest of lights for someone that's good, not a good player, but someone that is inherently, intentionally, and always good. It just that's sports, man. Like that's the thing. It's the world's best reality show. And when sports goes right, it makes you feel like what other thing causes emotion like this, where there's like we can't, as adults, we can't agree on anything at scale. We can't agree on anything. And yet here we are. I don't know a single person that's not thrilled for Maddie Keys. I just love it. And the fact that she played a strategically perfect match, because it was a high level of tennis. When you have two players that hit the ball as hard as they do, it can sometimes make a stat sheet look kind of ugly, right? To where you get the Shelton line from a couple days ago with the 27 winners, 55 errors. Doesn't always tell the story accurately. But I was a little scared of this one going sideways. They were right around almost even on winners to errors. And the errors they're making are off of shots that are coming in massive, right? Like, so it was a high level the entire time. We said that for Maddie to have a chance, she was going to have to serve close to 70%. And guess what she did, producer Mike?
She did it.
She served close to 70%. And by the way, in the biggest match of her life, didn't have a double fault. Not
Wow.
one nervy, squirrely double fault. At 5-all, 30-all in the third set, Sabalenka rocked two returns. Like, rocked two returns. Maddie, cold-blooded, smoked two winners. Like, you can't force the issue when Sabalenka just crushes the ball, and she was so steadfast. And you know what? I'm going to get on the front foot first. And she did it, and she executed. It's in like in the fact that we talked about it at the end of the show. I said she's going to have to switch directions earlier in rallies than she wants to. That backhand where it was almost inside out off of Saba's returns, she hit that over and over and over again. Inside out backhand, bam, reset the deck. So Saba hits one big one, moving to her left, quick punch inside out against the movement. And she did that all day confidently. The serving at 70%, mixing up the forehand. And something that she was messing around with when they played that EXO in Charlotte here was she was taking one hand off the racket a lot against Sloane in the little exhibition they did here that didn't have any, there's no consequence for it. It was a feel good night, right? Like there was no winners, losers, like no one cared. They just wanted to be entertained. And she was hitting a lot of chips. And I'm like, okay, it's a weird thing. It's not like the Maddie Keys thing, maybe. I'll be damned if she didn't squeeze out like 3 or 4 really big points because she was in the corner and took one hand off the racket. First set, she hit this little chipper Magoo where Sabalenka looked at her box and was like, "Wait, no, that wasn't in the notes.
It's interesting.
It wasn't in the notes." She got out of corners, she ran, and uh, the exhale that she must have is like, I hope it lasts for years. I hope it lasts for years.
I mean, the stat line is crazy. I mean, you look at this and like, it would be a 50-50 shot on who would win this when you just scroll the stat lines.
Yeah, Maddie won. I took a quick glance, but Maddie won exactly one more point.
Well, exactly. Well, 92-91.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. One more point. This was a Maddie was in. I mean, it was like she was playing video games in the first set. Like, however she came out in the U.S. Open final, she came out and was unconscious. Got a little dicey. Uh, Certain board played a little bit of a nervous game and then reset. By the way, Sabalenka, as far as she won't get credit for it because like idiots, we only give credit for someone when they win something. Sabalenka lost this match. It doesn't mean that she didn't make great tactical adjustments to get back into this match to give herself a chance. And no one will ever talk about it because she lost. But second set, something that Sabalenka doesn't do. One, she doesn't get beat off the front foot. There's like one person on earth who can do that and beat her at her own game, apparently, and that was Madison Keys today. She out Sabalenka. Like, she got on that front foot and just bullied her to the corners and played against her movement, and it was brilliant. And Sabalenka was able to pick and choose her spots in the second set. Obviously, base setting is I still have the power. I'm going to use that when I need to. Sabalenka started mixing up high balls to Maddie's backhand to where all of a sudden Maddie had to force that line one off of a ball above her shoulders as opposed to in her pocket. No one walking around is going like, oh, Sabalenka's capable of just mixing up paces now. Like, how about that progression as a player? Hitting drop shots. Like, she almost went to it too much in the third set, but in the second set, Maddie beset and she started playing like field drop shots against Maddie's movement. And I don't know that that's something she had 2 years ago, much less 5 or 6. I was so impressed with this strategic decision making on both sides. Like, it was a pleasure to watch it because you could see it going on in real time. And I'll tell you, Maddie's forehand, when it is in full flight, is one of the most beautiful shots on earth. Like, she lays it back and then is able to whip it through without looking like it doesn't break and go awkward at any point. Like, even like a Rafa sets it, and then there's you feel the impact, you feel the moment, right? Like, you feel the effort that's being put into it. Maddie lays it back, and it is her speed through the zone without stops and starts is it has to cause jealousy. Like, in to see her have that shot, keep it in full flight while serving well, while protecting, not even protecting the backhand, hitting it well. And I've watched Maddie throughout the years when that backhand starts going a little sideways and she starts looking like, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? Her head was down onto the next point. I'm just so impressed by the progression, and we use it too much. But like, when you're fighting those demons, it's brave for her to be out there and keep going after the shot that isn't the one that you've been able to rely on your entire career. And it wasn't just good enough, it was really good today. I didn't think we'd be talking about her hitting slices to chip to give herself another chance to get out of the corners to then set up the forehand. I didn't think we'd be talking about her backhand off of a rocket return inside out, against someone's movement. I didn't think that was something that we were going to be able to do. Did I think we were going to say, hey, listen, she's going to go through and be grittier and have more belief than the two best players in the post Aryna generation? I don't know that I would have bet on it, and I couldn't be happier to be wrong. I think she's amazing. I think she played amazingly well. Friend of the show, Max Eisenbud, was beside himself. He's been with Maddie since the beginning. Was texting him, and he's like, I've been crying, dribbling like a blubbering moron for since it happened.
That's awesome.
And I said, the only part that I can tell you for sure is the moron part, Max. But I'm really happy for it takes there's the thing about tennis. There's so many people that are invested in these people and these stories, not knowing if it's ever going to happen. Very, very probable that they go through and it's what if, and that would have lasted a long time. That would have, you know, but I think those moments where Maddie's in despair after that US Open makes this sweeter for everyone around her too. Because I know those people were there for her when that happened. And even if they didn't believe it, I guarantee you they were telling her that they did. Which is part of the game too. I don't know. I'm just this is like my cup is full. Not because we're playing favorite. I mean, I think the world of Aryna Sabalenka and what she's done as a player over and over. Yeah, and I said that much. We were lucky enough to have an episode with her, and she came on, and I said this to her. I know she's going to win bunches of majors, and something else I know for sure is that Maddy Keys is a Grand Slam champion forever, which is pretty great. What do you think, producer Mike?
That's awesome. I mean, I think we now have 4 American women in the top 10,
So
uh,
cool.
which is pretty cool. We got Emma Navarro at 8, Jess Pagula 6. We have our new friend Maddie Keys at 7, and we have Coco Gauff at 3. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think people push each other. Even like let's give credit to the men too, because the women are fantastic. We know that they have the upside to win majors. It's proven. But the men also, like, you look at that group, they've all been in like semis of majors now. Like, Ben's been in 2. Francis has been in 2. Tommy Paul's been in 1. Fritz has made a final. That wasn't happening even during my generation. You weren't having guys pop off into the semis regularly. You know, I love James and Marty, they're brothers to me, but like they didn't make a semi. Like it's this is a great moment. Like I hope we can appreciate it, and for fuck's sake, I hope we can not talk about what we're not doing in American tennis right now. Like can we clear the deck with this a little bit? Can we acknowledge progress and be happy about it, and not just bring up the ghost of players' pasts all the time? It's just a really really great moment. This was a great story. Um, Sinner and Zverev tonight. It almost feels like weak to do a preview right now because it's like the story is so much bigger than like doing like balls and strikes. But I'll keep it short. I like Sinner. I think he's going to be able to get on the front foot. I think Zverev is going to have to play a little bit outside of himself or serve really well, like impossibly well, which he's capable of. Um, Sinner's going to be able to find the Zverev forehand. Zverev is the cross backhand matchup. Sinner's one of the few that can actually hang in there with Zverev, and he can switch directions. So I'll be really curious to see what adjustments are made. Listen, maybe we have 2 first-time winners who have experienced heartbreak at the end of majors before, and Zverev is certainly at that camp. He's undoubtedly, if you're going by numbers, not feelings, the best player that hasn't won a major. And when he does win a major, he goes ahead of a lot of people who have as far as career accomplishments instantly. That's the only thing he's missing is that number 1 ranking. But people have been pretty selfish with that number 1 ranking during his time. But I don't know. I just feel I'm going to feel my feet might not touch the ground today just because I have so much pride and admiration for Maddie this morning. And I hope she is taking it all in. I know she is. I mean, that I'm getting emotional now. Like her celebration in that moment when she won, you could feel the world lifting off of her shoulders. It was just fantastic. I thank you all for watching these quick served episodes. Not in studio today, as you can tell. I'm traveling, but um, I like that. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and letting us kind of spout all of our opinions that may or may not be right. It's been a fun run. We'll do one more for you tomorrow after the men's final. But what a fucking Australian Open. And Maddie Keys, you're a champion. Really happy for you. Thanks for watching, sir.